I think we're going to get rolling here, and folks can just settle in as they come in. So thank you everyone for being here. Good evening, or good very late evening if you're on the East Coast. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Lissa. I'm from the Intensives Institute. And on the panel here, you'll also see Ashley Wilson of Audit Mate, and we are members of Start Out San Francisco's programming board. Start Out is a national organization that supports and promotes queer and trans entrepreneurship. And tonight, our goal is to support all of us and all of you in relaxing. With things as intense and stressful as they've been, we decided we could all use a night of grounding, rest, and relaxation. So welcome to Rest and Revival for the Revolution. Our guests tonight are Lissa Michalak of Somatic Anatomy in New York City. So yay for staying up that late. Cornejo of PsychoSocial, based in Point Richmond, and Danni Pomplun of Pomplun Yoga in San Francisco. Each of them will offer us about 20 minutes of participation and learning. We ask them to kind of mix it up a little bit so that you get a flavor for what they're doing, as well as some of the theory behind it. And then we'll have time for Q&A after each speaker. So be sure and ask the questions you have for each speaker after each speaker, because we won't be doing a full Q&A at the end. And then we'll close out. We are recording tonight and may be posting the video to social media or YouTube, so please let us know if you have any concerns about that, and don't share anything that you don't want posted publicly on social media. Let's get started. So Lissa is going to lead us off with an opening meditation.
All right. Hello, everybody. What we're going to do tonight is we are just going to breathe. It's super exciting, actually, and I'm getting very excited about it. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to breathe and relax and bring that excitement down. I'm going to stand up for just a moment. Take one hand and put it on your belly, right below your belly button. Take another hand and put it right up here on your heart. And if you have a third hand, you can bring it back here to the back of your head and hold the back of your skull. So these 3 points, we're going to talk to our gut, talk to our heart, and talk to our minds tonight. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a 3-part inhale. We're going to breathe intentionally into each center on one inhale, and then exhale from each center. So follow me, and we're going to do this a few times. So if I'm not, if it's not super clear what I'm doing, it will become super clear. So one hand down here on the belly, one hand on the heart, imaginary hand on the head, however many imaginary hands you need. Inhale first here, inhale second here, inhale third here. Exhale from the gut, from the heart, from the mind. Doing it again. First inhale from the gut, from the heart, from the mind. Exhale from the gut, the heart, the mind. 3rd time's the charm. Inhale, gut, heart, mind. Exhale, gut, heart, and mind. So as we do these, we're already starting to bring our gut center, our heart center, and our brain center into alignment. But now we're going to go deeper, because that's the fun part of it. So bring your hand to your belly. Bring your awareness just right here to your hand, and let your awareness sink deeper into your body, sinking past your stomach muscles, sinking past your internal organs, past your actual gut, and into the space that is sitting between your gut and your spine. Just take a moment, kind of feel into it. If you want to, you can reach back and feel your spine back here. Trick there is you're going to have to sink your brain about 3 inches forward of your fingers to actually get the front of the spine there. So in that deep space behind the gut in front of the spine, we're going to inhale just into there. And as you inhale, feel that space expanding even larger. And as you exhale, release, but leave it spacious. We're going to do this a couple of more times. Inhale back into that space behind your gut. As you exhale, leave it expansive. Leave room. One more time. And as you do this, as you inhale into that space and feel it enlarging and expanding, and as you exhale and keep it expansive, notice what, if anything, is changing in your body as you do this breath. The baseline of any somatic work is your experience in your body. And as we do this, as we go through these different centers, you may notice that you're getting some different signals from your body. That's awesome. You may notice that the signals you're getting from your body, maybe they sync with what I'm saying, maybe they don't sync with what I'm saying. That's okay too. Because again, your experience is the baseline, it is paramount, it is the most important thing here. Not whether or not you're doing it right. You're not dead, you're doing it right. One more time, down into the gut, inhaling deep into that space of knowing and supporting. And as you exhale, leave it expansive and leave some space for more. Now we're moving on to the heart center. And from here, you can put your hand here, let your awareness sink back past your hand, past your sternum, past your heart. Feel it beating as you go by. And go into the space that is between your heart and your spine. This space is the space that is held in your body for you. It is deeply protected. It is a very safe space to be. And we're going to inhale into it and expand it. So inhale into that space and feel that space expanding as you inhale. As you exhale, keep that space spacious and just release the breath. And again, inhaling. Exhale, leaving that space spacious. And a third time, what, if anything, is changing? And as you exhale, leave that space spacious. Then, coming to your head, you can bring your hand to the curve of your skull in back. Pardon me while I turn away from the mic. Bring your hand to the curve of your skull in back. And as you inhale, feel the air coming up into your nose, past your sinuses. Feel it coming past your brain and feel it going into the space between your brain and that inside curve of your skull. So inhale and expand your mind. Exhale, leave it spacious. Inhale again. Expand that space between your brain and your skull. Exhale, leave it spacious. And one more time, again, what if anything is changing? Maybe nothing is, and that's still okay. Exhale, and as you exhale, leave that space spacious so that you have more space in your head. And maybe you don't even need to fill it with anything. You just need to hold that space for you, and that's okay too. So now that we've had this deeper experience of our gut, of our heart, of our mind, we're going to do that triple inhale again, inhaling from the gut, the heart, and the mind, and see how that experience is changing now that we've had a different experience of each center. So you can bring your hands to whatever parts you like, and just take a nice long inhale, starting in the gut, moving to the heart, moving to the head. Exhale from the gut, from the heart, from the head. A couple more times on your own time, just going from one center to the next, to the next. Exhaling, 3, 2, 1. And one more time, starting at the gut and moving up. And exhaling again from the gut to the heart, to the head. And just hold for a moment, pause. Keep that space spacious inside you Maybe you can feel that space expanding outside you. Maybe you're just thinking, wow, that was really nice to breathe. Whatever you're feeling, just take a moment now and notice what you're feeling. Notice if your breath has changed since when we started. Notice if your energy level has changed since when we've started. And now, because we've gone in, we're going to go in even more. You can bring your hand to your solar plexus center, right underneath your rib cage. You're just going to imagine you can move your body this way, or you can just imagine yourself contracting into that space, and take a big inhale as you do this. Now, as you exhale, expand from that center and reach your arms out, reach your legs out if you're seated and you can do that. Expand yourself out. One more time, going in, into the center. We go in first. From that center, expanding, reaching out, expanding. And from here, if you can, leading from your eyes, you're going to look around your room and identify objects. There's a light. There's a board. There's my skeleton. There's a wall. There's a door. Turning around to the other side. Hats. Couch. Door. So bringing yourself back into the present. We've gone in, now we're coming out, and now we are here, and we are ready to move into our sessions.
Thank you so much for that meditation, Lissa. Why don't you just go straight into your segment?
That works for me. Okay. That's cool, because my segment is basically what we just did and why it is important. It is damn important to breathe, and not just because if you stop breathing, you die. That is also very important. Please don't die on this webinar. We will be very embarrassed. So, why this is important to rest, recuperation, recovery is that we have in our nervous systems, we have, the voluntary nervous system. I'm going to reach out and take a drink of water with my voluntary muscles. And we have the involuntary muscles that do all the swallowing and digesting and moving things around the body. So in the involuntary nervous system, we also have that split between the fight-flight reflex and the rest-digest reflex. Now, this may be super familiar to some people, but I'm going over it anyway, because hearing things over and over again, especially when you're in this open, physical, receptive zone, it hits you differently each time. So when you have your fight-flight reflex, you have your rest-digest reflex. They balance each other. If one of them is overactive, then the other one will be underactive. And that can be a problem because, as you may have noticed, it's 2020. And that means a lot right now. Oh my God. So when stuff around us is stressful, we are living in a constant state of fight or flight, which means we are not resting and digesting. And literally what it means is that that part of our nervous system is shut down. So you don't need to fall asleep when you're running from the tiger. You don't need to poop when you are running from the tiger. However, at some point you do need to do both of these things, so hopefully we can stop running from the tiger. When we're living in 2020, it's like we're surrounded by tigers all the time, and we have to find a way to tell ourselves, no, this is now a safe time to rest and relax and digest and maybe even poop. These are things. I have an 11-year-old kid. We talk about poop a lot, sorry. So again, when stuff around us is stressful, we have bad sleep, we have bad digestion, we have adrenal fatigue, we have all of these long-term systemic breakdowns. And to activate that rest and digest reflex, the parasympathetic nervous system, we use breathing exercises. And it's not just some like, whoa man, breath, it's just so chill. There are actual physical stretch receptors surrounding your lungs that turn on the parasympathetic nervous system when they're stretched. And yes, we stretch them by breathing. I'm a bit of a technical girl. Sorry about that. So, body awareness and listening to ourselves is absolutely paramount. So, my company is called Somatic Anatomy because I teach anatomy and I do it somatically. And I use both the anatomy and the somatics in one-to-one sessions. What I do is I use these tools to get people in touch with their bodies and out of pain. In group classes, I tend to teach more anatomy specifically to movement teachers so they can get their students out of pain and get themselves out of pain too. But what we're doing tonight is I'm taking the tools, I'm just bringing the straight up tools about getting into your body and listening to everything from the neck down. Because body awareness and listening to ourselves, literally, is the best thing we can do to care for ourselves. Our bodies always know what we need. I have been doing an entire session online this week all about how to listen to your body and tell what you need and hear its messages. It's pretty cool, actually. And a lot of it comes from that triple brain exercise that we just did, triple breath. On one hand, it's annoying because it takes time. I don't want to meditate. I want to read a trashy novel and fall asleep. 3 hours later, when I haven't fallen asleep, I should have just done the damn meditation in the first place. It's frustrating, but it does work and it is worth it. So, again, these somatic tools that with somatics, two things about somatics. One, I've already mentioned that your experience in your body, that is your baseline. Whatever that is what we are working with, and that is the most important thing. The other thing is that there is no difference between the mind and the body. Sorry, Descartes, you were wrong. It's all like the mind is the body is the mind. And when your gut and your heart and your mind are in sync, you make better decisions. You can base your decisions on reality as opposed to whatever filters you've put into place in your head. When you are clear on your gut, heart, mind connection, you are also more you. You can show up more authentically as who you are, and you can act in accordance with who the hell you truly are, which makes for a really good leader. More people should be doing this. That's all. So I'm going to go a little bit more into essentially the gut, the heart, and the mind center, because a lot of people will talk about them as the three brains. Does that mean that your heart is in here arguing Descartes with your head? No. What it does mean is that we have these big concentrations of nerves in our heads, the central nervous system. Yes, that's a thing. In our hearts, it's called the intrinsic cardiac nervous system for all the nerds in the house, because I know you're out there. I can feel those nerdy vibes and they make me so happy, so happy. And also in the gut, that's the enteric nervous system. And each of these, your heart and your gut centers, your cardiac nervous system and your enteric nervous system, they are actually capable of making decisions on their own given the input that they get. So your heart can decide, wait, do I slow up? Do I slow down or speed up? Same thing with my gut. Do I slow down or speed up? And a lot of those messages come in from our fight, flight, or rest, digest reflex. When that rest, digest reflex kicks on, the parasympathetic nervous system kicks on, the heart says, oh, I should slow down. The gut says, oh, I should speed up. And resting and digesting both happen, and that's a good thing. So again, both of those guys, while they're not cognitive in the same way that the brain is, they do have their own decision-making abilities, and their feedback to the brain colors how we perceive the world. And now we're getting into trauma theory and things like that, which is not so much what I do. I tend to deal more with the physical end rather than the psychological end, but it's all linked because the mind is the body is the mind. I may say that a few times. It's important. So, and how that happens is communication between the head and the heart and the gut all happens via the vagus nerve, which you may have heard of. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the body. It comes out of your brain and it wanders, vagus, vagary, vagrant, same root, wanders all around your body to your heart, to your gut, and conveys that information back and forth. So the vagus nerve is actually vital to overcome learned fear. If we have habitually learned, okay, this is a scary situation, by working through the vagus nerve, we can overcome that because our body knows what's up. When you can listen to your body via the vagus nerve, your body's like, yeah, okay, head, I know you're kind of freaked out, but it's cool. Actually, we are fine. You must chill. I have your car keys. So having that heart, gut, and brain connection is really key to beating that fear-related conditioning. So it's not only showing up as more of you, but it's also being able, again, to see what's really there and to deal with it, which is really exciting. So using that, the heart, gut, and mind centers to get your information, then that means that you've got the best information possible that's coming from your body as well as coming from the outside world. Your body is basically an antenna, and these are your receivers. So here at Somatic Anatomy, that's me and my lovely assistant Napoleon Bony Parts, that's us. We acknowledge that the heart and the gut and the brain, they all receive signals from the outside environment, and they also receive signals from the inside environment. That's the stress, the trauma patterns, the habits, the past experience, etc. And the three of them can all influence each other back and forth. So when we become aware of our body's reactions to things, we then filter it through our experiences, and then we decide how to act. The more clear and the more clean that information we're getting from our bodies, from our guts and our hearts is, then the better, again, we can act in response to what the heck is actually happening. So I really like talking about this stuff, and I could do this forever, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do that triple breath one more time, or 3 more times. Just so with that extra knowledge, now we're really kicking on our head brain, I would like you to notice. So we're just going to do that 3-part inhale here, here, and here, and 3-part exhale here, here, and here. As you do it, go deeply go behind the gut, behind the heart, behind the brain, and see if anything has changed. So again, as we inhale together, inhale gut, heart, brain. Exhale gut, heart, head. 2 more, gut, heart, head. Exhale gut, heart, head. Last time, gut, heart, head. Exhale gut, heart, head. Now you may experience this round, you may not have. It is your experience. Do not let anybody take it away from you, because if they try, they're wrong. No gray areas, they're just frickin' wrong. I'm gonna let you guys ask any questions if you got them, because otherwise I'm just gonna sit here and talk all night, and we have 2 other super awesome people I wanna hear from.
Lissa will totally talk your ear off about this. You should absolutely follow her on social media and sign up for her stuff, because she's got so much knowledge in her head. And the great part about what Lissa does is that the knowledge that's in her head, she like makes it concrete. She makes it real, as you can tell. So that's my little plug. I've actually had the pleasure of working with her just a little bit. So we do have, I see one question in the Q&A, which says, when I get stressed or depressed, I notice my breath gets kind of shaky or jittery when I take deep breaths. Feels like it gets better when I focus on long, deep breaths every now and then. What is with that?
That is super awesome, and it's super cool. And I get excited about weird things, so I apologize. I'm not saying that it's awesome that you're stressed and unhappy. I'm saying it's awesome that you're noticing it, because like in any good 12-step program, knowing you have a problem is the first step. When you notice that shakiness and that jitteriness, that's your fear and your panic affecting your body. And as you try to take those deeper breaths, you are sending your body signals, one, that it's safe to breathe. And as you've noticed, as you slow down your breath, the shakiness and the jitteriness does go away. It's one of the things I actually really like about that heart, brain, and gut breath, is that it gives me something else to think about while I'm breathing. so that my head brain, instead of going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, is going, okay, wait, okay, gut, okay, heart, okay, how deep can I get in there? And by the time my brain is like, wait a minute, you tricked me, then my body is all calm again. So I think it's fabulous that you're feeling that. What it is, short version is it's a neurological reaction to panic. It's that fight or flight reflex. And when you consciously decide to turn on your rest and digest reflex, as you've noticed, you have the power to bring it down. So go you.
Thank you for that. We have another question that just came in. It says, any tips for finding the time for meditation and how to convince yourself to leave the work aside and sit and actually meditate?
Oh, ye gods. That is the worst thing ever, 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 ever. There are two things I do. One thing I will do, I will literally write it into my schedule, like 9:20 to 10:40. It's never that long. Who am I kidding? Like 9 o'clock to 9:20, meditate. And I will set an alarm. And setting an alarm is such a beautiful thing. You set the alarm, it's on your schedule. You look at your schedule. Oh, this is meditation time. Then I get up, get away from my desk, and I'll go lie on the couch or on the floor or something like that, and set a meditation timer. I also like to listen to spoken meditations because, again, it gives me something to focus on rather than let my monkey brain do its monkey thing, because it does. And then the other thing is force yourself to do it before going to sleep. Every night, I'm like, I'd just like to read a trashy novel and go to sleep. And every night that I meditate instead, again, just listen to a guided meditation, I get such better sleep. And it's actually the continual reinforcement of, I don't want to do it, but I did it and I feel better. It's like going to the gym. Nobody ever wants to go to the gym, but nobody's ever, well, I'm really sorry I went to the gym because I feel like ass now. Pardon me, I'm a little foul-mouthed. So generally, I like this. No coffee until you meditate. That's a good one. Before bed, no trashy novels until you meditate. Like, do not pick up the romance novel until after you've meditated. And usually I fall asleep instead, so.
Thank you so much. That was incredible. It was so informative. I'm super grateful to have your approach. If there are no further questions, we will go on to Danni Pomplun.
Thank you for having me.
I think, yes. Thank you so much. I don't see any more coming in. So thank you so much. Danni Pomplun is the founder and CEO of Danni Pomplun Yoga. He's going to be talking to us on a different approach to meditation and a yoga morning routine. So with no further ado, Danni.
Hey everybody, it's kind of funny to be founder and CEO of yourself, but yes, I am definitely founder and CEO of me. I'm a yoga and meditation teacher and breathwork teacher based here in San Francisco. This is my life. I love doing it. And it was a very great, Lissa, it was a great segue to get into this because Lissa really gave, if we were to fight left and right side of the brain, one side of the brain is like, well, where's the blueprint to everything? And then the other side of the brain is like, well, we'll just believe in it, right? So we got to see a lot of like the actual groundwork. So we know that the foundation is there. We know that this stuff scientifically works. And what I would like to guide you through is some of that foundation, but also in a yogic sense. So the first thing I'm going to invite y'all to say with me is the word sadhana. So we'll try it together. Say sad, ha, and then na, sadhana. Try it one more time. Say sadhana. Great job. Okay. So sadhana is the yoga term for a morning ritual or some sort of spiritual practice. And I want to give you guys 3 different tools and simple techniques that you can actually take home and do. We'll do these together right now. And the first tool really is meditation. So one of the questions that came in was, how do you make time to meditate? People often think that meditation is, we see the picture of people sitting and meditating and it's someone in a cave and they've been there for 20 years and they come out and they're floating and they've got this like really long beard, right? It kind of looks like me. Totally? No, okay, yeah. Yeah, meditation is actually like all the time. And there's also this common misconception that meditation is when you quiet the mind. Not true. If you were to quiet the mind, you wouldn't actually be present and you wouldn't be alive with us today. You'd probably be either unconscious in a coma or no longer in this dimension. So really what meditation is it's part of the yoga system, right? A lot of spiritual systems. It's part of the yoga system, and it actually comes a lot farther down. A lot of people think of yoga and you're thinking Warrior Two and all the cool poses that you see on Instagram and all of that stuff. That's really just the smallest part. We do the poses in yoga to actually help us sit longer with ourselves. No one wants to do that. So let's talk a little bit about the yoga system and just a little more about meditation. I'd like to share my screen with you all for a quick second. This is one of my absolute favorite quotes. I meditate because evolution gave me a big brain, but it didn't come with an instruction manual. Does anyone feel like right now you're like, how do I deal with pandemic? Where's the pandemic part of this? Where's the dealing with social justice? Where's the dealing with my queer life? How do I deal with my partner right now? Or, you know, whatever it is, right? Same. And really, I think meditation is a great way to get to know yourself and to, you know, create this manual on your own. So just a really quick little like guide through, let's see, there we go. So the different stages of yoga, just a kind of little background, and then we'll dive into this. Yama and the niyamas, you can think of them as like how we treat others and how we treat ourselves. And they're super simple and basic. They're just like cleanliness of the mind and the body, honesty with ourselves, integrity with ourselves, always studying, always staying curious, things like that. And then we go into asana, which is all the stuff that you see on Instagram, people doing all the big poses, blah, 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 blah. Then we have pranayama, which is the breath work. And again, Lissa just led us into that gorgeous meditation at the start, which was beautiful. She talked about the vagus nerve, which I'd love to touch on in just a bit. So put a pin in that, we'll get back to that. Eventually we go into pratyahara. So that's a way of removing ourselves from the concept of things happen to me, or that why is this happening to me versus taking more direction in our lives. And then we do concentration, and then we're ready for meditation. And then at the end is when you start floating, and then your life is good and you have nothing else to worry about. But this is just like the stages of how yoga works and where we really get into it. And then we'll go into a little more about meditation. Let me just move these little boxes out of the way so I can read this one. This is one of my favorite quotes. This is taken out of the sutras of yoga, and you can think of those as like a guidebook for yoga. But the one on the right here really speaks to me, and I'm often reminded about it a lot when I facilitate trainings and just speak a little bit more about meditation. But meditation being a serious tool, using meditation only to feel good for a while, is like a surgeon taking the anesthesia for themselves and leaving the patient to die on an operating table, right? So we meditate. You know, there's that quote, you know, if you meditate for 20 minutes, you would have a good day. But if you meditated for an hour, you wouldn't have to worry about anything else because everything would just be there for you. Meditation is a way, the way I see it, it's a way to get to know myself, to check in with myself, and really to see what I need, right? And how do I treat myself in that moment, or how do I get to know myself in that moment so that I don't project onto anybody else, so that I don't let, you know, I call it Monster Danny when I'm like, you know, hangry or haven't done this or haven't done that or haven't really taken care of myself, my basic need to tune in. That's how I see meditation. It's really like the biggest tool in my life to get by. And let's see if I can click over here. Okay. Another thing to think about, like moving through the four types of meditation, or four types of meditation, is similar to listening to your favorite song. So at first, you start to notice the song being played, right? You hear it, and then you begin to examine the words, right? And then you really start to feel that pleasure of it. Like you really start to look forward to it. And then finally, you go beyond that, you get lost in it, you almost get entranced by it. It takes over your entire body, right? Everyone has that favorite song where you just like, boom, it just takes over your entire being completely. The origins of meditation in yoga, right? We started off with the asana, to get us ready for meditation. And I mean, this is a bunch of words on a screen, but bottom line to sum this up is really, we do the meditation so that we can, again, dive into ourselves and find that journey to ourselves. I pulled up a bunch of like benefits, things that we hear a lot, like, you know, meditation is great for stress and meditation is great for depression, but there's a lot more than just, you know, being in a better mood. It's actually known to take away inflammation in your body. It can increase positive emotions, decreases pain, helps support your immune system. This is one of the biggest studies that blew my mind. When you are in a state of fear, your immune system literally starts to attack itself and go down. When you are in a state of calm or rest and relax, it does the complete opposite and it's able to build itself back up. So it's like your body's natural pharmacy, right? It's a way to regulate yourself so that you continue to tune in, you continue to tune in, you continue to tune in. All right? Okay, so that's just the like little basic, the little rundown on it. Now, the three different things that I would like to offer you to build your sadhana practice is one, the breath work or the pranayama. Prana is the yogic word for life force, right? Pranayama together is the manipulation of that life force, okay? It's a way to reset your nervous system. When we talk about the vagus nerve is what I like to call it, like the chill out nerve. Has anyone ever been told, you can even just like say yes in the chat box. Has anyone ever been told to like chill out and take a deep breath? Or like relax, take a deep breath, right? Because when people tell you to relax, it really helps. Totally. Yeah, anybody? Panelists, show of hands. Have you guys ever been, anyone told you that? The reason why people to tell you to relax, yeah, thanks Ruby. Yeah, people tell you to relax and take a deep breath because when you breathe, we not only breathe north to south, right? The breath only isn't going up and down, but we're also breathing from east to west. So your diaphragm, we'll say, kind of lives in here. And when you breathe into your diaphragm, it expands. And you can see it in a CT scan. It's actually really cool. You can see it go up and down. As it starts to go up and down and east to west, it massages the vagus nerve, which tells your body, oh, now it's time to chill out. Now it's time to relax. Now it's time to slow down. I can step away from fight or flight, and I can actually go into a more restful state. All right? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have you pretend to pick up your favorite cup of coffee in the morning because I know all of you go into the office. So wherever you're at, I'm going to teach you one breathing exercise. If you're shy, if this is new for you, if you're like, I don't really know if I want to do this at the office, like when I'm stressed out, like I don't want to be that weirdo, I'm going to teach you how to do it with your cup of coffee and people won't even know. So you've got your hot cup of coffee. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to just take an exhale to the side. You're going to sip your coffee, but you're not really going to sip it. You're going to take an inhale for 4. So when you're ready, we're going to go. And then hold and savor that for 4. And then you're going to blow your coffee a little bit. And we'll try that again. You're going to inhale, savor the coffee for 4. Hold. And then exhale for 4. Good, and you can put your coffee down to the side. And then no one in the office knows that you just did a breathing exercise, right? If this is something that you want to do at home, we call this Nadi Shodanam. So I'm going to show you how we do it if you want to do this in the privacy of your home or if you want to invite anybody else to do it. Take your hand out in front of you, your right hand specifically, and then you're going to give me a little surfs up. So index finger and the pinky out, but then let's just invite the ring finger to the party. So we call this Vishnu Mudra, okay? And what's going to happen is just like we did, we're going to exhale everything out first. Take your right thumb, or your thumb on your right hand, place it on your right nostril, okay? And we're going to try that again. So inhale through the left nostril for 4, 3, 2. Now plug your nose with your 2 fingers. Hold for 4, 3, 2. Open up the right side for 4, 3, 2. Inhale through the right side for 4, 3, 2. Plug and hold. Exhale through the left side for 4, 3, 2. Now close your eyes. Let's continue to do this together. Inhale from the left side for 4. Plug and hold. Exhale to the right side for 4. Inhale to the right side for 4. Plug and hold. Exhale to the left side for 4. Release your right hand down. Keep your eyes soft or closed. As you begin to soften, I want you to ask yourself just how your physical body is doing. So from the crown of the head all the way down to the tips of the toes and the spaces in between. Just notice what's feeling energized. Notice what's feeling sleepy. Notice what's feeling like it needs a little TLC. Maybe what needs a little extra fire, a little extra kick. And tune into that heart space we heard about earlier and notice how you're feeling emotionally. There's no right or wrong or in between, but just how am I feeling? From that check-in to the body and the heart, what might you need for the rest of your day, the rest of your evening? Maybe you need some chill, some patience, some strength. And take a deep breath in to call that intention into every single cell of your being. Exhale, let it go. Blink your eyes open. Take your eyeballs to the screen. And so I kind of already tricked you and took you into your mini meditation. So the question was, how do we meditate? That was less than 3 minutes, and we had time for breathing exercise, and we had time for meditation. Now, the last part, the one thing that has really kept me going, I mean, I can speak really open and honestly to COVID time, is gratitude. It's really easy to get lost in the heaviness. There's a lot going on, right? There's totally a lot going on in the world. And how do we take care of ourselves is remembering to be grateful for the small things that we have around us. So what I like to do is after I take my little breathing exercise and my little 2-part meditation in the morning, I have a little journal, and every morning I write how I was feeling. And then the next thing I'll write is 3 things that I'm grateful for. And sometimes I like to, go for something grand, like, I don't know, whatever, so a certain person or whatever. But when I forget and I don't want to feel like I'm trying too hard, something as simple as my beating heart. Something as simple as like my favorite t-shirt, my favorite cup of tea. So to close us out, I want for everyone at home, I want for all the panelists, just look around the room and find one thing that you are grateful for. Doesn't have to be an object, and maybe you decide you think about a person or your pet. Okay, and then from that, let's all head into the chat box. I'll invite you all to just share your one word of gratitude. I'll start us off. This is what I am grateful for in this moment. Oh, I gotta share with everybody. There we go. So we got health, community, panelist, life, love. Oh, so good. Yeah, these are great, you guys. Keep them coming. These are beautiful. Oh, yes. So good, Bridget. Yeah. I love it. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. These are beautiful. Yes. Awesome, Luis. Sunshine. Ah, the maples. Nice. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. A quick little recap, something easy to get you grounded, to get you settled, and to remember who you are. Come out of bed, take a deep breath. Give yourself a second to tune in and ask yourself who you are, and remember the things that you're grateful for. And that is a great way to start your sadhana practice. Happy to answer any questions if there are any out there. Yeah, thank you all for your time so much. I appreciate it.
Danny, this whole time I thought the goal of yoga was handstands.
The goal, handstand, and then you take a picture, you put it on Instagram, and you never
Right.
have to do it again, and then you're done.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You've like won yoga at that
You
point.
won your
right?
first place, gold medal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Danny?
I did see one come in through the chat. There was one of our watchers, one of our viewers, had a really rough time in Russia where they used to live, and some of the trauma from that is starting to creep back in, you know, as it does when you re-experience trauma. And she was wondering if you had suggestions for like how to reground and not let, just kind of combat the depression coming back as part of that process.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, and I'm definitely not a trained therapist, so I'd love to say that first. What I can offer from my experience is what I can for sure offer. And like any feedback, try it on, see if it fits, and if it doesn't fit, you know, there's a lot more out there. When in the mind, the process of the mind, we call the thoughts that bubble up the Maya, right? And it's the trickster of the deck. It's the thing, the illusion. A lot of things I think that come up, right? Depression specifically, I can speak to that in COVID, is something inside that wants to be seen and it wants to be heard. And it's probably a side of ourselves that has protected ourselves for a really long time. And now it's getting to know that side of ourselves again, right? Pausing, checking in. How am I feeling? What is this? Okay, this is depression. This feels sad. This is, you know, whatever it may be. And asking that part, well, what do you need? How can I help facilitate you get to the next place, or have you feel safe, or have you feel grounded and connected, right? Meditation is just like, by no means is meditation the answer to everything, right? The meditation is one of the tools in the deck. The breath, the somatic therapy, I mean, that is a whole different ballgame in itself. And it's so, there are so many ways that you can do this. What I would offer there is to inquire with this sense of wonder and curiosity, and greet whatever comes up with, it is, you know, like with as you would a child, with kindness and compassion.
Amazing. Thank you. We have another question. How can we effectively encourage others to use these methods?
Accountability buddies. Yeah, it's an accountability buddy. So, you know, even as a yoga teacher, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I fall off all the time. You know, I forget. I am human, and that's part of the human experience, right? And this is actually why, for me, why I keep coming back to yoga and to my mat, is to remember how my true self is beyond fear. It's beyond the story that I tell myself. And there's probably a little bit of fear and mistreating myself when I stop doing these things that work, right? Mm-hmm. And so I continue to do these things to remember just how much love I am, just how kind I can be in the world to myself and then to others. And what really does help is just keeping myself honest. You know, I low key, not so low key. You guys, I don't teach for everybody else. I teach for me. I need that stuff so I don't go crazy. I do it for me selfishly, because if I don't do it, right, if I don't go teach the thing, I forget to do the thing.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Danny. Yeah. I really appreciate it. If there are no other questions, next up we have Luis. Luis is a licensed marriage and family therapist. He is also the founder of PsychoSocial, which was designed to promote mental health awareness, knowledge, and advocacy, as well in the fight against destigmatizing mental illness. Without further ado.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. But Ashley said, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I work in San Francisco, primarily with Spanish-speaking patients, but also trauma, depression, anxiety, and the LGBTQ community, specifically immigrant LGBTQ members that come here from other countries. And I have done this for a while. I've specialized in working with children as well, and development. And I am the founder of PsychoSocial, which is a multimedia company where we create content to help educate others about the importance of mental health and also destigmatizing mental illness. We also create a lot of events, organizing groups, and right now everything on Zoom. We have a reading circle for mental health professionals of color. We also do interviews and panels and a lot of workshops and stuff like that for different groups and organizations. And so today I am going to be talking about one of my favorite coping strategies and self-care techniques that I like to use as a therapist, which is actually perfect because it goes really well with what the other two panelists spoke about. And it's something that most of us have probably done before. It's called therapeutic journaling. And most of you have probably kept a diary at one point. The first thing I thought about when I was thinking about that was I thought of an old Britney Spears song, because I'm a big Britney Spears fan. So I thought about like this Dear Diary, and I remember I used to keep my diary, and it was like my little secret place where I could write down things that I was thinking or feeling. And as I got into my career, I realized that writing has not only become one of the most effective tools that I've been able to provide and teach to my patients and clients, but also for myself. And so part of PsychoSocial includes a lot of educating through writing. So we have a panel of mental health professionals who actually submit a lot of their own experiences, a lot of tips, and a lot of research-based articles to help people understand things like depression, anxiety, and finding ways of coping. So journaling is something that everyone can do, right? Everyone's written a paper or probably written down answers on a test, things like that. The big difference here is that with therapeutic journaling, there is an intention, right? There is a process that goes into it. And it is very beneficial for people who are struggling with anxiety, stress, depression, life changes, grief, anger management, chronic pain, and also trauma. However, with trauma, I do want to say that it is a more cautious, I would be more cautious, definitely something, and I'll get into that more, but it's definitely something to work through with a mental health professional, because it can be triggering as well to write a lot of things down, especially from our own experience. But it is healing, and it is helpful to do it in a contained way. So ways to get started with journaling. For me personally, I prefer to write. So I actually have my journal here, and that's one of the fun parts is you get to pick your writing tool, your journal, based on whatever it is that you love. There's a lot of great journals out there that you can get in places like Amazon or even Target. And I think for me, what matters is that we make it very personal, very much representative of us. I like to decorate the cover of it something plain and just something that I can keep tangible for myself. But I do want to say that it doesn't specifically have to be an actual like notebook or journal. You can actually do it through like a recording. A lot of us now have memo recorders on our phone. We also have computers, blogs. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can write things down now. Definitely the main thing is to keep it in a way where you can have it accessible, but also safe, right? Because if you're going to be sharing personal things and going through maybe talking about your depression or family, just making sure that it's something private that you can keep for yourself. So that's one thing, right? Getting the format down. So it's either writing it down, speaking it out. Some people actually don't like the writing piece. They feel that it may be too much, or they just don't like to write. And so I always recommend a speaking version of this, right? You can set a recorder and talk about just what's on your mind, what you're thinking, your feelings. A way to have an outlet, right? To really express what we're thinking, what we're feeling, the things that have gone on through our day. And Another thing as well that I tend to recommend is using prompts. Prompts can be very helpful. And that's part of the therapeutic process, right? When we're journaling, is having something that can guide us. And like Danny said before, he was sharing a little bit about writing 3 things that we're grateful for, 3 things that we appreciate. That's actually a very, very easy and helpful way for us to continuously practice gratitude and improve our mood. We can do that in the morning once we wake up, right? Take a deep breath, do some of the exercises that other panelists were talking about, and then write down a couple things that we have gratitude for. We could do it at nighttime before we go to bed, writing down things that we appreciated during the day or just things that stood out for us. I like to focus on, something that made me laugh during the day, someone that I thought about that made me feel good, something that I did for someone else or just in general to help or to make myself feel giving, I guess, that I'm giving something back. So I like to write about those things. But some prompts that I find really helpful are, for example, what is your fondest memory and why? Who is someone that inspires you and keeps you motivated? What is one place that makes you feel good and why? What are 10 things that you love about yourself? I think it's really important when we're journaling to be able to pick prompts that are going to help us not just express ourselves, but also develop insight about ourselves and what we're going through in our experience, especially right now with all of these transitions and changes and unexpected things that keep happening in the year 2020. It is definitely nice to have tools and an opportunity to really reflect on things, especially because most of us are going through a grieving process, right? We've had a lot of loss, and a lot of people like to think of loss as something where we lose someone, right? They pass away, but in reality, it can mean losing a job, losing, an opportunity, plans that you might have had, right? Losing, just about anything, right? Grieving the world changing. And it's absolutely true that the world has changed and we're constantly changing. So it's helpful to have tools, whether it's, body or whether it's a way to express our emotions. And so journaling for me has been something that has definitely made a difference and allowed me to talk about my feelings and just kind of navigate through all this unknown and unexpectedness that is happening. Now, some of the benefits of journaling are having an outlet, like I said, to express yourself, an opportunity to reflect, grow, a way to maintain a record of your feelings and see if you're making any progress in your healing, kind of seeing how your writing changes over time, processing your experiences, right? Really thinking about the feelings that are coming up for you, thinking about the thoughts that have been stuck in your head the whole day, and kind of trying to deconstruct them and really figure out, what is it that it's telling me, right? If it feels like you're feeling anxious the whole day, right? What is it that's making you feel unsafe? What is it that your mind is trying to tell you in your body, right? Because when we're talking about trauma or anxiety, it's not just a mind thing, right? It's the body. Like Lissa was saying, everything is connected, the mind and the body. And so it is a response that's going to happen in both areas. If we're feeling worried and stressed and scared, our body's going to also react to it. And so it's helpful to have something that's going to help us feel grounded. It also helps manage stress, right? Because you're getting it out, you're writing it, you're putting it out there. And also it gives you an opportunity to honor and validate your feelings and even the uncomfortable ones, right? Because not all feelings are comfortable, right? When we're talking about anger, about sadness, about, shame, all of these things, they don't feel good, right? In the body or in the mind. And so it's nice to be able to put them on paper and not just kind of try to get rid of them because they're there for a reason, right? We don't want to ignore our feelings. We don't want to say that they don't matter or we have to get over it or we have to be strong or any of that. We want to actually validate our experience because it is our reality and it is our own body and mind telling us something. So it's nice to be able to use that as a tool, right? If I'm feeling, for example, really sad, being able to write about my sadness. What does sadness look like for me? What do I think is making me sad, or what do I feel in my body? Where is the sadness, right? Is it in my shoulders? Is it in my heart? Where am I feeling this? And having a way to write that down. Now, I mentioned earlier about trauma, and the reason why I highlighted that one is because trauma is very complex. It can be very triggering, right? People go through very extreme experiences, and it doesn't always have to be extreme. Trauma is complex that way, and so if you find yourself writing things out and you're going through that process, but you start to notice that you're reacting in a way that's not helpful, or it's just too much, then that's when it might be time to maybe, find a mental health professional that you can talk to and really process it verbally, but also still utilizing, right, the writing process and other healing tools. Therapy is also just a tool, like everything else, like yoga, right? It's not the only way to heal. There are multiple ways of healing, and a combination of things is always the best, right? Doing things that are going to allow us to connect with our body, our mind. And so I think that's one of the important things just to take away from this, is that writing should be not exactly comfortable all the time, but it shouldn't bring out an extreme reaction. And if it does, then my recommendation would be to find a mental health professional that you can start to process those very strong feelings and those strong reactions. Other things that I enjoy about journaling as well are utilizing things like pictures as well. I like to put pictures in my journal. I like to put poems that I write, that I find, quotes, little things like that, almost like scrapbooking. You can make a combination. That's the great thing. There's no one way to do it. You don't have to follow like a recipe for it or like instructions on it. It's really about being creative. It's really about having an outlet, and also about using it in a way that helps the healing process. So that is my spiel on journaling and why I use it. I don't know if anyone has any questions for me about, journaling or just mental health in general.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. I love how you spoke about that it could be creative too, right? To like go in every aspect of whatever you're feeling for that day, or make it a scrapbook, or write poems. Like there's so many different ways that it can be therapeutic, right? It doesn't have to be just one. You have a few questions already. People are excited to talk with you. So the first one says, the tech nerd in me wants to know what you think of VR, virtual reality, in the mental health, social, emotional learning space.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. It's so interesting. I am a big tech lover. I love technology. I think it's a great tool. There's so many things that are coming up now in terms of applications, on your phone, your apps, and all these other methods now to make mental health more accessible. I think it's great. I think that mental health and healing and just finding things that help us feel good can come in many different forms. I think when we're talking about mental health, it's so vast, right? It's not just talk therapy. It's not just yoga. I mean, I teach a lot of cultural healing practices, right? Like gardening, doing things like, we call them limpias in Spanish, and they're kind of cleanses that people do. So I'm not trained to do that, but I have gotten them done by people who are in the spiritual realm and are kind of working in the spiritual healing practices. But technology is another great way. I think that technology can be healing. I mean, there's so much research even on how video games can be helpful used in a structured way, right? Of course, anything too much of can be not helpful, but I think that right now people are definitely creating, and I love it. I think that it's a good thing. It's a good thing to make mental health accessible, even just talking about it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great segue into the next question, which is, what is your thought on the therapy apps, which are now being very heavily advertised in San Francisco, and I'm sure much of the country as well?
Yeah. I want to be very transparent. I personally don't believe there's going to be a replacement for the face-to-face or even person-to-person interaction. We heal through connection with others. I mean, we're social creatures, right? We want to feel understood and validated and held, even if it's not physically, but held emotionally. So I will always stand by mental health and therapy being with another person versus like a chat bot, for example. There are actually a lot of apps out there that use AI, and they're pretty cool. They're helpful. I think that they're great tools to use with therapy. However, I don't think that for a lot of situations they're appropriate. So for example, if you're dealing with a little anxiety and you're struggling, or you have a little imposter syndrome, right, and it gets in the way sometimes of you being able to do things, having an app that can guide you in deep breathing, having an app that can kind of ask you or check in with you, like, how are you feeling today? Try doing this, try doing that, is helpful, and it's a great tool. But when we're talking about complex mental health issues like trauma, severe depression, generalized anxiety, like diagnosable, or bipolar disorder, things like that, we're going to want to have a therapist or a mental health professional that can also not just support us, hold us accountable, but also provide the connection and that build that relationship that's going to establish trust, and a sense of security, right? Knowing that someone is out there hearing us out and supporting us in that process. I think that SF is definitely one of the places where I've noticed technology is coming out in so many different ways. I love the apps. I actually use a lot of apps. I use the Calm app. I recommend it to a lot of my patients. I recommend, a bunch of different things that they can use as part of their treatment. But I would, like I said, it depends on the issue, what you're dealing with. If it's something that can just help you navigate stress day to day at work, right? To remind you to meditate or take a deep breath. I have my Apple Watch. It actually tells me halfway through, like, take a deep breath. And I'm like, I get so annoyed sometimes. And I'm like, stop telling me. But it actually reminds me. And then I'm like, okay, maybe it's time. I need to take a deep breath. So, so it helps. And so I love that. I love that about technology and apps. They're helpful, but it is going to be a case by case.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that, but I'm so thankful for my Zoom therapist right now in this time of COVID. So I agree that the face-to-face is better, but thank goddess for the Zoom therapy right now.
Oh yeah.
If we do not have any further questions, thank you everyone for joining us today. I really appreciate it. It was such a nice journey, starting with Lissa, with the body and the somatic, and where we can learn from going inside and what our body is actually telling us. And then, traveling with Danni into the ancient teachings of yoga, and more of the spiritual aspect. And then with Luis learning about journaling and mental health. And I really loved what you said about there's multiple ways to heal. There's multiple ways to relax. These are all just tools that each of our panelists talk about today. And finding what works for you that's a part of the beauty. That's a part of the journey, is finding your own path. So if I don't see any other questions, so I will close this out and give us a few extra minutes of our day. Thank you. And thank you, Lila. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to do this tonight.
Yes, thank you so much.
Good night.